Today's September 22nd, the Bucks finally win a series against the Cubbies in a wild series in Wrigleyville and a milestone number for Mitch Keller. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I am joined this Friday by our friend Doug. What's up, Doug?
Hey, glad to be here. I'll try to keep up with Jake, what he would have done. I'm no Jake. I certainly don't have that wonderful beard, and I don't have near the pitching knowledge he has. But I'll do my best.
Well, this is another late one. The Pirates played a late one here against Chicago. So usually for these late night ones, Jake's usually just every once in a while goes like this. So if you do that a couple times.
Come on, he's in Central Time now. It's still.
I know. Right? That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right. I mean, it's a little later for you. I'm in Central Time as well. So
yeah,
it's not too bad for us.
It's not too bad for you. Okay, well. We'll get by. I did talk to him earlier today too, so he's actually traveling tonight, but I don't know. I think they're in Florida somewhere. Wow. I don't know. So anyway, hey, we beat the Cubs.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. The Cubs are, my least favorite team, so I hate just being their whipping boy, and we have been for a while. So it was nice. Boy, we made it dicey. It's man. It was a fun game though. There was some back and forth action. The Pirates, for the second night in a row, added on something that they had not done effectively throughout the season. So it's nice to see that they've strung some hits together, and it's encouraging. The Cubs are fighting for a playoff spot. That they are. They're not phoning this in. This isn't two teams that are out of it in September. This is a team that's trying to win. They're pitching one of their better pitchers. So yeah, it's a good win. It's a good win. It's a good series win. And boy, if we're part of the reason why they don't make the playoffs,
that'd be great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we were at the Arrieta game.
Oh,
and
wow.
So my wife she was sitting over here earlier tonight saying, and we were ahead. She was like, "Good, I hate the Cubs." So Katie is right along with you. Me personally, the Brewers are my number one nemesis, but maybe it's the Cubs after the records that we'll kind of get to. So we'll break into that. We'll take a look at a few. I have a little stat thing that I want to bring up before we get into Mitch Keller and his numbers. But I just have an interesting conversation about what you can do with stats and what people do every day with them. But before we get into any of that, I know that it's the Cardinals. And by the way, I was at Game 3 in St. Louis, or was it Game 3 in St. Louis, 2013, when Garrett Cole
he got the win.
He got the win. It was Petey hit a homer. Marlon Byrd hit the pop-up to the infield that he got a double on.
Right.
So I was at that game. We drove up to St. Louis, or over, I guess, to St. Louis. I just have less of a problem with the Cardinals. The fans were great. Was
Game 3, wasn't that in Pittsburgh?
That's what I can't remember. So whatever it was.
No, it was, and I can tell you why, because I'm still mad about this. A.J. Burnett was fantastic at home that year, but not very good on the road. And he started Game 2 on the road, and it was purely because Clint Hurdle wasn't going to say, "Look, I'm going to go with the rookie instead," and he should have. We won the first game. Liriano wins the first game. We're up 1-0.
Yeah.
Burnett pitches the second game. We lose, and then we come back to Pittsburgh, and Cole gets us the 2-1 lead. And I think that had we pitched Cole in Game 2, maybe we get the win there, and then we have Burnett where he's lights out at home.
Yeah. Excuse me. Hold on.
Yeah.
Something stuck in my throat. So I just pulled it up. Burnett started game 1,
Okay.
and Cole started game 2. Both of those games were in St. Louis. So it was
Okay.
game 2,
So
not
I'm
game
not
3.
remembering. All right. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
remembering
It was
correctly
game
either.
2. We won 7-1. We split in St. Louis, came back home, and we split there. It was game 5 that you're referencing, that was there, and he went with Cole instead of Burnett.
Okay.
And
Yes,
so,
I've-
and that's
yeah.
the same thing. That's exactly like you're dead on with that. But it was game 5, and I remember Burnett being upset.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So anyway, I was there, and there was one fan that gave us trouble, and it was actually other Cardinals fans who shut him up.
Yeah.
And we didn't say anything, but no, it was
That's
actually
a fun place to watch.
It is. It is.
I
And
saw
there.
Jimmy Anderson beat Daryl Kyle 1-0.
Ooh, okay.
That was fun.
Yeah, so that's okay. I was trying to think. His name just came up when I was looking some stuff up today, but I can't remember what it was for. All right. So anyway, I say that to say Adam Wainwright, win number 200. I got to give him the props. It's a big one. I don't care about wins and losses when it comes to how you're doing this year.
Right.
But anytime you start to get to any kind of milestone number, I think it's big. So
Yeah.
congrats to Wayno. And did it.
Especially the way the game's played now, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to hang around, and sometimes you leave the game in the sixth. Now he doesn't as much, but right. It's just different. Pitchers' wins aren't as valued, and understandably so. I always, even when I was a kid, long before advanced stats come out, I thought that was Doug Grabick would lose 1-0. It's like, really? Did he lose that game?
Right.
Maybe we should put that on the lineup. But
Yeah.
so, but you get 200 wins. You've accomplished something, right? I mean, it shows some longevity. It shows some excellence. And it's hard to deny. Adam Wainwright has been a terrific player for a long time.
Yep. Ohtani, elbow surgery. They won't say whether it's Tommy John or not. So
right.
That's interesting.
That's a little odd, right?
That's he won't pitch in 24. We know that, and I think they're playing a game a little bit. I think they're trying to. I don't know if it's going to come out or not, but I thought that was really interesting. I mean, he's obviously one of the biggest stars in the game, but I don't know, man. I don't know what that does to his free agency. That's interesting.
It's right, but because I would think. They say the Dodgers are a leading suitor. It's like they need him as a pitcher.
Yeah.
They don't need him as a hitter, right?
Yeah.
So you want to give him $500 million? I mean, they've got hitters.
And
It does change the dynamic.
If it's Tommy John, it's a second one. You don't
Second
always
one.
come back from
and
that
they
one.
don't. You sure don't. It's interesting. I imagine we'll get some answers about that.
Yeah, you think
during free agency, right? Someone's going to So someone's going to have to look at the medical. Someone's going to let something slip. So
yeah,
it's odd, right? And they say he'll be ready to hit on opening day of 24 and then pitch on opening day of 25, and that's the doctor. Yeah, and again, it's the doctor that he's employed, but
but you got to think if it's not Tommy John. Are you ruling out coming back in a bullpen role in August and September of next year?
That's what I thought. I thought, what if he goes somewhere and they're getting to the playoff run?
Yeah.
And you said it's not Tommy John surgery and it's September. You can't go out there for 2 innings.
You can't. You can't go out. Just give me 25 pitches, an inning and out.
Yeah.
If it's a closer role to end the game, that way you don't have to worry about where you're at in the lineup and all those things. But
right.
Of course, they'll just change the rules for him. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Do whatever.
They're going to want to accommodate him.
Do whatever he wants. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so transactions this week. Let's get to the Buccos. Kyle Nicholas called up, and we'll talk about that. Thomas Hatch sent down. Kutch transferred to 60-day. So getting into the games a little bit. Falter actually used as an opener in game 1. Priester, another outing that's just... I had a buddy literally just tonight messaging with him, and he's like, I saw Priester came in, but how'd he do? He's not a Pirates fan, but we talk a lot of baseball, and I said, 6. He's able to get through 6, but he gave up 4 runs. And he's like, is he any good at all? And I just kind of said, well, the most he's ever pitched in a season is like 93 innings. And he's at like 140 innings or something this year. I think it's something like that. Don't quote me on that because it's not in front of me. But the thing is like you could say that maybe there's a little bit of fatigue there as well. For me, it doesn't matter. He's not banging down the door to get into the rotation. So he just still has a lot to prove. He's either going to work out or he's not. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm been watching baseball for 100 years and I constantly have to remind myself, not everybody comes now. And I mean, nobody for the Pirates seems to come and tear it up and just dominate right off the rip.
Yeah.
But, Roy Halladay got sent back down. Glavine and Smoltz were awful in their first year. I watched Greg Maddux, I think I was there in 88, 89. He wasn't that good. You could see it. You could see that it was there, but you weren't sure that was going to happen. I'm not comparing Quinn Priester to any of those guys, but like you said, you add in the fatigue, right? I mean, go where did Mitch Keller go? I always want to call it Treadstone, and I know that's from the Born Identity, but he went somewhere and got his velocity back. So go there.
It's Tread. Is it Tread Athletics? Is it
something like that? It just
time seems to rearrange the memory anymore.
For me, it'll always be Treadstone because I cannot get that out of my head. So, so maybe he's a trained assassin on the side. I'm not sure. I don't want to write him off, and I don't want to pencil him in.
Yeah.
If he comes into spring training and he blows everybody away, fantastic. It's great, but they should certainly be making plans to have somebody else in that roster, in that rotation spot on opening day, and not having it be Quinn Priester.
Yeah, he's still a prospect in my eyes, and it's
right.
And you know what I mean? Like I get kind of mixed up at some point saying like, yeah, he's a prospect, like he's a really good prospect, and I think sometimes that's taken as, oh, you think he's going to be like well, no, I think he's going to be a major leaguer.
Yeah.
A really good prospects means I think he'll be a major leaguer. He doesn't have to be Garrett Cole.
Yeah, right? He could be a subpar major leaguer.
If you're not a good prospect, you're probably not making it there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then he gives way to Kyle Nicholas, and if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, you know that I have a soft spot for major league debuts.
Yeah.
And those are the like. And so I was pretty excited. And then, when we traded for Nicholas, you find out he's from right upstate, you know what I mean, in Massillon, Ohio. Do you know when we were playing in a band, do you know how many shows we played in the Massillon Canton area? Like, man, we were there all the time.
Right. So
like this guy feels like he's, kind of close in a way. And so if you listened, was it just Monday? No, it was last Friday. We had Brock, our friend Brock, on that played drums with us. He lived in Massillon for a long time. So I'm texting him and I'm like, this dude's from Massillon. And then he gets one out and he gives up 6 runs.
Terrible. I'm with you. I don't like when players make their major league debut against us. Because I don't, and I was at Rom with St. Louis, we've roughed up a couple guys who've made their debut this year. And I want every pitcher to get 1, 2, 3 his first inning, just get your first strikeout, get your first inning through, then whatever, I want the guy to get a hit in his first game, score a run, that sort of thing.
Yep.
To get there, you got your family there most of the time. What an incredible accomplishment just to get there. So, it had to be rough. And, he had been pitching so well at AAA since he had moved into the bullpen. And you just thought, all right, just get an inning here, get through this. And, wow.
Yeah, it was just this month. On the 13th, Jackson Rutledge made his debut against us for Washington.
Yeah, that was
he couldn't get out of the 4th inning, 7 runs, and it was kind of like, bummer for you, but good for us.
Good. Yeah. I want the win, but like I said, I'd rather have it be Josiah Gray.
I would rather, though, I think about it and I'm like, well, I guess I'd rather have the Rutledge game than the Strasburg game when he made his debut.
14 strikeouts.
Yeah. And I think at the time I was like, well, you can have that one, but we'll beat you. And no, we won't.
I still remember Kutch Kutch lined out. He hit it hard, lined out, and he was back in the dugout going, "Look, he throws fast, but it's straight."
Yeah.
Well, that was the last positive moment I had in that game. So
yeah. Hayes 2 for 4, but the team 0 for 4 runners in scoring position, and obviously the Cubs. We just mentioned how several people struggled, so 14-1 in that one. I will say this about that game though, for fear of going too long about the game that we lost in this series, but the effort given at the end of the game by Reynolds and Davis, and I know that Matt Capps, he seemed to praise Reynolds' effort on his dive, but said that Matt Capps wasn't being smart when he dove for the ball in front of him. And I'm going to disagree with Matt Capps on that one. You're down a lot.
Right.
If he gets a triple instead of a single, I don't care.
Right.
If he can somehow get out of that inning, just get out of it. I love the effort there. The game's already washed. So what's one more run if you don't make that play?
At that point, another run didn't matter. So right, if you can do something to pick the kid up,
that's it.
Like I said, I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, and pitchers appreciate it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next two games were great.
Yeah,
13-7 win and 8-6 in the nail biter, I guess you could say today. Right. Keller. Wednesday goes 5 2/3, 9 hits, 7 runs, a walk, 6 strikeouts, a couple homers. He gets strikeout number 200, but we will talk a little bit about the fact that he was able to give up 7 runs a little bit later. Carmen Mlodzinski's a dude.
Yeah.
I'm in,
on
man.
Board, man. Yeah, I am too. I said on, I think it was a Sunday night postgame show on North Shore 9, I said, listen, him and Barucki are just about the two relievers I have the most confidence in now, right? And if you would have told me in May, in June that I was going to say that, I would have told you were out of your mind. They come in, and I just feel they're going to get it done.
Yeah,
it's just, it's really, really impressive. I mean, Mlodzinski's going to be the closer of this team in a couple of years. I believe that. I mean, we'll see. Lots can happen, but. Eventually they're going to move on from David Bednar. They're going to have to. You can't. A team like with our budget cannot pay a closer, no matter how much we love him.
Right.
And
as we saw from Holderman today, that's.
Yeah. No, I think, I won't be surprised if next year Mlodzinski is our 8th inning guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
And Holderman is a 7th inning guy, and they'll. Back and forth and some of that stuff, but it won't be as defined.
Yeah, I think they can play the matchup a little bit at that point.
Right,
I think still there's a little bit of Holderman that maybe, and I don't want to use this excuse for everybody, but it's the end of the season. He's probably throwing more than he has in the past. I don't think that his velocity has been in his career what it has been this year. So there could be a little bit to that. And like I said, I don't really want to make excuses there, but I do know that, we had talked about this before the season even started about Mlodzinski going to the bullpen because they didn't really make that move until the beginning of the year.
Right.
And I was saying, and I'm not doing this because I was right the whole time, but I thought Mlodzinski and Kyle Nicholas both needed move to the bullpen. Now, Nicholas made, I think, 18 starts this year before they made that move. So
and he wasn't that effective as a starter either.
No. And it was just about time whenever they made that move. So I think the idea is you keep most starter as long as you can.
Yeah.
So I get that. Palacios with a 3-run homer. And we're talking about game 2.
Yeah, that's game 2, right? Yeah, we have.
We're going to say that again.
Yeah, it's
Connor Joe with his 11th home run. Triolo hit a home run and not a cheap one.
No.
And Hayes just keeps hitting. We said 2 for 4 in the first game, 3 for 5 in this one. Today's game, I think he was just 1 for 4, but had the double, and that's the wrong day. No, he ended up going 2 for 5. I knew I wrote that too early. Yeah, he was 2 for 5.
Is he up to 280 yet? I mean, he's
close.
he's
at 277.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and of course we had the base running mess up there. I don't know. There's just no reason to send him there. I know what you were trying to do, but Key, I'm not sure what he was doing. He kind of lucked out there.
Yeah, that was, I know, it was a little off. I mean, right, they probably shouldn't have sent Reynolds,
yeah.
but, it happened.
Yeah, so Oviedo goes today. Somehow, again, is effective with 5 walks.
5 walks, yeah.
This is a pretty, this is a long run of the location being off. It's at least
Real
3
off.
straight starts.
Yeah, it is. He did it against the Yankees, did it against the Braves.
Yep.
I was at the Braves game. And,
that's right.
Yeah, it was.
Wait, you were at the Braves game with the...
No, that was a Saturday night game.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Jake was there Saturday night. And
I was there Sunday. I was there for the Sunday game. But yeah, it's, again, and I think your reasoning, fatigue is probably part of it.
Yeah, I hate to keep going there.
Well, the excuse you go with is fatigue, and then mine is youth.
Yeah.
Right? These guys are young. Yep. This is his first full season as a starter. Like I said, everybody doesn't start out like Verlander does. So, I mean, they're growing. Now, I mean, this applies to both him and Keller. I want more consistency next year.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more, quite frankly. But, right, they're, Keller has taken on so much the burden of being the team's ace, right? Now, he doesn't have the ace-like, stats or whatever, but he's pitched more innings. He's pitched, it's 30 straight starts with 5 innings. And Jim and I talked about it last night. That's not really a great, there's games where he should probably came out in the 4th. But because we only have 2 starters at this point, you're letting him go longer. So then it's giving up more runs, that sort of thing, wearing him down a little more. Again, these guys are probably tired. The season's been a grind, and they're still learning at the major league level. So, right, I'm not ready to give up on anybody quite yet.
I love that you went there though, because we're gonna talk about that. I love that. That's part of what. So today's game was wild, but first off, going from Tuesday to Wednesday, the fact that you lose 14-1 and you turn around and you punch back and you don't let it bother you. That's the best thing.
Candidate, right?
Yes. And like we talked about, before we hit record, I don't care what the score is. You only get 1 loss for it.
Yeah.
It's not like if you lose by 13, they say, well, we're going to give you an extra loss because you lost by 13. It's still 1 loss. And as I say every time, the best thing about baseball is you get to sleep it off, wash it off, however you want to say it, and play again tomorrow.
Yep.
And they did it. They put up 7 runs in the 4th inning by tacking on. And they were up 8-1 when the Cubs came back with 5, and they didn't stop. They went right back with 3 runs, tacked on 2 late.
That's one of my favorite moments of the year, because we have not added on, right?
Yeah.
We'll get 4 runs in the 2nd inning, and we don't get another hit for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
The fact that they bounced right back and put up 3 runs was just outstanding. And to your point, right, the 14-1 loss, the 1960 Pirate World Series, the Pirates, they would lose their games 10-1 to the Yankees in that World Series, and then win 4-3 or something. And they were outscored dramatically
by
in
a
that
lot.
thing.
Yeah,
and who cares?
Who cares?
Right? The Pirates won 4 games. It starts out 0-0 the next game.
That's right. Yeah, you don't get to take any with you, which is also something interesting, because when we first connected, you said today was the day we didn't want to save any runs for tomorrow, and it's a good thing they didn't.
Yeah, really.
So that was that was the first thing you said.
The theme, right? Because that's, you and I have discussed that several times throughout the season, and it's right. It is sort of an old adage and action, hey, it's 7-1. Let's get some tomorrow, because tomorrow you turn around and you can't get a hit. But we needed them all. We needed every one of them.
Yeah, and the same sort of thing you can say about that is we were able to tack them on when they started creeping back into this game. 3-1, and then it's 5-1. You felt like that we needed that, but then they came back with 3. And so then we came back with 3, and they still got 2 off Bednar.
How did they get that 3? How did they get that 3?
Well, we tacked on the 3 with another Josh Palacios 3-run homer, his 10th of the year. This guy, if he's kept around just to do the raise the Jolly Roger baby, then I'm for it. Other than that, we'll have to see what they do. But but he's certainly played his way into consideration. He's a guy that if I'm not signing guys, I don't know that I'm moving him off the roster.
Right. And I legitimate, like, I don't want some sort of other quad A player, right? I mean, if you go sign Cody Bellinger and Josh Palacios does not survive the roster cut, I can live with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if you go sign Anthony Alford, right, or someone of his ilk, then I look. He should. I have no issue when they put out that Rule 5 roster, or the 40-man roster there the first time you have to in December. If him and Andujar are both on it, I have no issue with that.
I was just about to say though, Andujar 275, 837 OPS, and Palacios 234 with a 693. Now Palacios has had some more time, but if you were to pick between the two right now, Andujar 3 hits today and 3 RBIs in this game, the 2 stars of the game really. If you were picking one of those two, who are you picking?
Monday, I listened to Starbucks, North Shore 9, and they were having the same debate, and they picked Palacios, and I would have picked Andujar. Okay. Andujar's got the proven track record. But, man, today, and Andujar had a great game. But, my goodness,
back
what
to back
Palacios
there.
is doing. Yeah, and I won't tell you that Palacios is a great fielder, but he's a better fielder than Andujar.
That's
so
it's important to consider.
Yeah, I'm telling you though, I won't be mad if both of them are in camp next year. I don't want them penciled in for a starting job.
Right.
But I mean, it's hard. It's getting harder with each game to dismiss out of hand either one of them. Right.
Yeah, I mean. I'm really going to be slow on the Andujar piece. However, Jake just keeps going, like
that's where I am.
He's kind of there too. He's like, but
it's
to me, there's just enough defense from Palacios. Like he's capable.
Right.
And so there's enough there. And let's not kid ourselves as the Pirates. Andujar is going to be more expensive.
Yep.
And I think because of the fact that Palacios is so clutch that if he's on my bench, just like tonight, and you need a pinch hit at bat, he launches that 3-run homer, and it's like, I mean, that was huge. That was the difference.
Oh,
because they got 2 runs in the 9th.
Right.
And maybe they don't. You bring in a closer in a non-save situation, and it's the same all the time. And
it's cliche now that
you
bring a closer in a non-save situation, he's just not as effective. It doesn't matter who it is. It happens to every one of them. It's like I said, it's just getting harder and harder to dismiss them. And I know we have fallen in love with, guys, with August and Septembers and I mean, Chris Duffy's and Jermaine Allensworth. I mean, it's just been forever I'm so excited about this guy. And then, come spring training, they look awful. So, it does seem silly to sort of pin any hopes on, but I don't know. I mean,
I think
Palacios has been a terrific pinch hitter.
That's
right?
the thing.
Right. And the flair for the dramatic is, now, does that stuff tend to balance out? I don't know. I don't know.
But pinch hitting is so difficult that if you do have that, it's still worth it. And it's not just to say like only pinch hitting, but spot starts are going to happen. Right. And I'd rather have a guy who has a flair for the dramatic. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's the kind of guy I want coming off the bench. And I would also caution anyone else. Because this is where I don't know that I'm falling in love with either of these, but I'm saying like if they don't make another signing,
right,
they've at least earned another look.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. If like I said, you won't hear a peep out of me of complaint if they are on the 40-man roster and they go into spring training with a shot. Right?
I think if both of them are, you'll hear a peep, but that might be it. Because I will, just because I want them to go out and sign somebody who does force them to make that move.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, that,
you know what I mean?
that's an excellent point. Right. We need, we need better players. So
Yeah.
we need,
and I'm not sure that Palacios hasn't jumped over, CSN for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that's
Cal
an
Mitchell,
odd-
it's already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened with Cal Mitchell.
So
the CSN thing is kind of odd because he's playing well, and you would have thought he would have gotten another shot at some point. So,
yeah, it's interesting. So we finally beat the Cubs in a series. I think that puts us 3-10 against them on the year.
3-10.
I'm not the first one to bring this up this week. I've heard it at least 3 different places. But if you remove the Pirates games against the Cubs, we have the same record.
Yeah.
It's only the games against the Cubs. We would both be 69 and 71.
69 and 71. Yeah.
And so my thought process was why not play the Cubs? Like, why are we playing the Cubs so bad if we're essentially the same against the rest of the league?
We've played the same schedule. Right?
Yeah.
Basically, we're a couple games, a couple series left. But yeah, so why? And the Cubs are not world beaters. They're fighting for the 3rd wild card spot. So it is an interesting question, and why have they just had? It's been a couple years now too, and again, this is not a team getting 95 victories, right? We'd both be 69 and 71. I mean,
this is the same thing to me as the way it was before with the Brewers.
The Brewers, right?
We just couldn't beat them.
No, I remember Clint Hurdle saying if we could just play 500 against the Brewers and the Padres were terrible. And the Brewers actually were kind of bad back then too, and we just could not win, could not beat them.
Yeah, if you look at Cincinnati right now, and they did play their game today, so it stayed the same. Cincinnati's 79 and 75 right now. They're a half game out of that wild card spot. And the Pirates' run differential against the Cubs is -52. Against the Cubs only.
It's just the Cubs, right?
Just the Cubs in 10 losses.
You don't want to have that for an entire season against all teams. You do not, you know what I'm saying? And we've got it against one team.
Against one team.
Right.
So minus 96 total, which means a -44 against the rest of the league. The Reds have a -47. Miami has a -42. And they're 79 and 75, and Miami's 79 and 74. So I guess what I'm saying is if you that's just one indication that if you were just able to play similar against the rest of the league, you're in the same place that Miami and Cincinnati's in.
Right.
And maybe you're in the mix. Now, not that I think that the Pirates would be in the mix right now. You have to beat the Cubs to do it.
Right.
So I'm not, saying like, oh, this team's, underperforming necessarily. Like,
I 13 again next year, right?
I for one am not to say they're underperforming because I picked them to win 73 games, and we got 72 right now. So I'm pretty safe that they're going to overperform what I thought the Pirates were going to do.
Right. Yeah,
large in part by April.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think we're 51 and 73 since April. So.
Yeah.
As encouraged as I am by the last,
since August 1st,
month and a half, right?
Yep. One game over 500. They're playing better. They're still doing it without O'Neal Cruz. And the pitching staff.
Any starting pitchers.
With 2 starting pitchers. Right. So, yes, I mean, there's plenty to talk about when it comes to the rest of the league and where the Pirates are and all that stuff. But just to say a couple of things to give you a little bit, we just said that against teams that are under 500, the Pirates are 39 and 21, and the first step is beating teams you're supposed to beat.
Yep.
And right now they're doing that. And
I mean, beat the bad teams, then you got to beat the good teams when you're at home. Right? It's a progression, and they're at that first step.
Yeah.
Solidly, right?
650 winning percentage against teams under 500. The Braves have a 647.
Yeah.
The Dodgers 685, Orioles 694, Rays 644. So those are all the teams with 90 wins to this point in the season. and we have a better record against losing teams than two of them. Now, we're not any of those teams. That's
Nope.
just that we're just saying the first step
Right.
is beating teams you're supposed to beat. And quite frankly, the Pirates are doing that. So it should give you some sort of hope in this September of 81 losses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and especially from where we were in July, right? Where you just thought, man, April was just purely a fluke. This is terrible. Where is this rebuilding? You know, I mean, my goodness, it was depressing.
April almost got us, didn't it? I mean, because a lot of us were like, yeah, but we knew they were going to get hot. We just didn't think it was going to be April. I said this. I knew they would have a run like that in them. I also knew that they would struggle mightily. So, like, I had that in my consideration when I said probably 73. But I assumed that their hot streak was going to be somewhere in September and not April.
When Endy, because I wasn't counting on Henry Davis coming up. I just thought the Pirates weren't going to bring both of them up. I thought they sort of believed in Henry as a catcher, and that so you couldn't have them come up at the same time. And everything from Super 2 and all that other stuff. I thought Quinn Priester and Henry Davis, and I tweeted it out many times, weren't coming up unless they beat the door down or September.
Sure.
And then or something catastrophic happened.
Catastrophic
happened to the pitching, and that's what got Quinn Priester up. And Henry beat the door down. You know, especially that no one on our team could hit. He was crushing it. They had to figure out a way to get him up here. I think they've handled him just horribly, horribly wrong, because it seems like they've always thought he wouldn't be a catcher. So why wasn't he playing right field? You know, so
should have been doing it in the minors. That arm would not be wasted out there.
Right. He seems like he's a hard worker. He's diligent. He wants to be good, and they just put him in a position to fail. And I think that weighed on him, and it's caused some of these, you know, because I'm sure, you know how baseball players, a lot of guys introduce themselves. I'm a baseball player. I bet Henry Davis always introduced himself as a catcher, right? He really identified. He really identified with that position, liked being the man, the guy in charge, that sort of thing. And then the day he got here, the Pirates basically said, he's an awful, awful catcher, and we're not going to let him even behind the plate when we're losing 14-1, which, you know, and then put him in a position where the ball found him every game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it I think it just wore on him, and I think he's taken it to the plate. And, I think they've handled him horribly. Hopefully, you know, he'll clear his head in the offseason and come back swinging. But
he's not going to be the first player that's ever learned a new position and struggled at the plate while they were doing it.
Right, exactly.
It's just not. And to be honest with you, Endy, I would say the same thing. He's learning a lot right now. I love his management of the individual on the mound. I think he's a great leader when it comes to that. But when Oviedo, a young pitcher himself, is out there calling his own pitches because he doesn't believe in it, there's still some work that needs done, even though he's good with the leadership and going it twice today.
Right.
He went out.
Calmed him down.
Yes.
Yeah. He looks, and sometimes I think we sort of get caught up in this kind of stuff because, you know, he's not hitting, and if we can't point to some of this, like, you know, look, man, he just clapped his head into his mitt. What a great leader, you know. But no, he exudes. He's got charisma. He's got energy, and he's definitely got leadership qualities.
Yep.
And it's right. It's got to be hard to lead when you know that you're not playing the position as well as that you want to play. That again, that, you know, you're not able to call the game quite yet. Yes, like you said, he's learning so many things. So I still have complete faith that Endy and Henry are going to be very impactful hitters for the Pirates in the very near future.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's disappointing though, because we really did. We thought, I thought Endy was going to come up and, you know, just rake, and that's not been the case. I mean, our two best rookies are Majinski and Peguero. And nobody had that. I listened to all your projection and prediction shows, and
did not have that.
Nobody was calling that.
Nobody
and then
was calling that.
If you said the next one, it's probably Triolo, right? You know, so
I don't know about that, but yeah. I guess you'd have to consider it.
Yeah.
Speaking of impactful players, one of those reasons why we struggle against the Cubs is Ian Happ.
Ted Williams, you mean? Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say. It seems he turns into Babe Ruth. Okay, so Baseball Reference. I don't know if you've ever looked at the OPS plus stuff they have when you're looking at the splits. They'll have something called TOPS plus, which is the player's OPS relative to the player themselves. So like Ian Happ's numbers against everyone is 100, right? That's the plus. Right. So anything over 100 against a certain team, he'd be better. Under 100, he'd be worse than his average production. He has a 148 OPS plus against the Pirates. But what was really interesting to find out, and maybe a little bit like refreshing, is it's a 160 against the Reds and a 131 against the Cardinals. So this is a guy you want on your team because he plays well against his division rivals.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought, like, the Pirates are going to get him, and it's going to be a failure because he's not going to get to bat against the Pirates. But if he's crushing the NL Central like that, let's bring him home.
Let's bring him home. He's doing it to the Reds and the Cardinals, and I would imagine and have no other thought than the fact that he would do it against the Cubs. 87 against the Brewers, but their pitching.
That pitching
has been really good during his career. So,
yeah.
His average is the highest against the Pirates. He has a 321 average against the Pirates and a 295 against the Reds. But he's at 29 home runs against the Reds in their bandbox field a lot.
Yeah.
And only 17 against the Pirates, which felt like it was low to me, but
felt like most of them are this year. And,
yeah, and I think it's like 6 this year, and I'm like, it's got to be more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In this season, what they're saying in 12 games or 13 games or less against one team, he's got the second most runs knocked in against the Pirates of any player, other than Hal Morris did it one year in the 90s. He had in 12 games he had like 1 or 2 more RBI. I mean, it's historic. What he's done against us this year. He's done it his whole career.
Yeah, 1.048 against the Reds, and these are career numbers. So 993 OPS against the Pirates. I mean, it's crazy that it's 3 of the division. I mean, Oakland, but he's only played 6 games against Oakland, but his numbers against Oakland, I think it's like a 239 OPS plus. It's 6 games, so I don't count that.
No, I would love for them to go get him. I really would.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see, the trades in the division and all that sort of thing, but man.
Or necessarily how that would fit necessarily too, because I don't think he's that great of a center fielder.
No.
So I mean, you're talking about Reynolds in left, and you know what I mean.
We are facing a bad defensive outfield problem.
Yeah, which is hilarious coming from having Marte and McCutchen, because McCutchen was I mean, I know there was some defensive metrics that were against him, but not early.
No, early, and I mean, eye test, he always looked good, right? Yes. I mean, I could get some of the, and he did win a Gold Glove.
That's right.
And I mean, I know, and Marte was just spectacular.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
And we thought Polanco was going to be good, but I know I'm like I said, I like you. I played center field. I love center field. I value outfield defense, and this administration seems to ignore or does not value defense at any position except catcher.
It's been so weird. Jack Sawinski's fine. That's how that's how I describe him. He runs good routes. He's faster than you think.
Yeah.
His arm's average. He's fine.
Right.
Bay is very fast, but not fine.
Nope.
Sawinski's your best option, but I think with the power and everything, I would rather Sawinski be in right field. But if Davis is going to be there, I ride with Sawinski, and your outfield is what it is. If Shin Soo Choo can play center field, Sawinski's fine out there.
Yeah. So, I've got no problem with Sawinski playing center field.
Yeah.
The only time I have a problem with Sawinski is when he's 1 for 27.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when he's hitting average, he's fine enough in center field. I mean, like I said, Henry Davis is the right fielder next year until Cutts retires, and then maybe you can sort of push into DH,
Sure. Yep.
and then put Jack in right and go acquire. I don't really, well, maybe Lonnie White. As I said, I don't really think we've got a lot in the organization there, unless Matt Gorski breakout or something happens. But
who knows?
Yeah.
All right, so let me get into this last piece here. We are going long. We might just go long. There's no rules here. I mean, if people
told you I was going to ramble.
Yeah, you're fine. If people want to turn it off, they will. They already have. So, Blake Snell is on his way to possibly another Cy Young. I know it's a close race, but he's on his way. And this is a little like statistic thing that I thought was really interesting. And I'll get to why this matters, and I'll talk about Mitch Keller, and I will go back to something that you started alluding to. But he was on MLB Network after he went 7 no-hit innings the other day. And they basically, a couple of them said, I think you just punched your ticket and all this stuff. Greg Amsinger brought up a statistic, and he said that in his previous Cy Young season, the batting average against on the first time they faced a hitter, the second time, the third time, kept going up.
Right.
And he said this year, it's going down every time. So, of course, I heard that, and I said, yeah, but why?
Right.
And I started to think, everybody says that, Snell doesn't go deep.
Yeah. No.
So I looked it up. 277 plate appearances first time, 278 second time. Now, before you say that doesn't make any sense, catcher's interference does not count as a plate appearance. So he had one catcher's interference this year that actually made more second plate appearances than first. I was like, this is wrong. And then
right, that can't be right. Yeah.
I found the catcher's interference. So anyway,
was it Hedges?
I don't know, actually. I should look and see. That's well, no, he didn't go there. He went to Texas. Yeah, that's funny though, because you got me on it because he was there.
I was just going for the laugh, but
yeah, you got me on it. Oh my gosh, you fooled me. Anyway, so I looked up. Okay, well, let's take a look at it. 28 walks, 95 strikeouts, 212 average. That's a 34% strikeout rate and a 10% walk rate. Second time through the order, 39 walks, 85 strikeouts, 185. So the strikeout rate goes down, walk rate goes up to 14%. Third time through, now I said 278 plate appearances. I'm just going to stick with 278 because that first one. Third time through, 158 plate appearances. And I started saying, here we go. Not only that, but the walk rate goes up to 19%. The strikeout rate still at 28%, so still there. But his average against is 118. One hitter this year, Snell faced a fourth time. That's, But you can already start poking holes in that a little bit. When you talk about walks, strikeouts, add a hit by pitch in there, basically all of those things count for 47% of the plate appearances on the third time through the order. So he's only got about 50% of guys that have a chance to get a hit. And the chances of Blake Snell even being out there for a third time through means he's got his best stuff.
Right. He's breezed through the first 2 times. Right. It's kind of a simple, equation to get to why he's there for that third time.
Averages,
uncommon.
100%. Averages 5 2/3 innings per game. That's spread out over 31 games, so it's not, you know what I mean?
Right.
He's going almost 6. Let's just do for comp's sake. Let's talk about Mitch Keller. 188.1 innings pitched in 31 starts. So already 14 more innings in the same amount of starts. First plate appearance, 279. First and second plate appearance. So basically, it's only one off from Blake Snell. Strikeout percentage, 30%, close to the 34. Walk percentage, only 7. His strikeout percentage a second time through goes down significantly to 22%. Walk rate also goes down to 5. And these averages are 269, 221. Third time through the order, a 272 average. This is always the trick. If you're going to be a starter in the major leagues, you got to do well your third time through. 25% strikeout rate, so that's up a little bit. Walk rate's up a little bit. 12 plate appearances against him the fourth time through, and he dominates, which makes sense because he's going good. Okay. So the number that sticks out, obviously, are the fact that that average does go up. Snell had under 60% number of third plate appearances that he did for first plate appearance. Keller had 84% this year, or has had, I'll say, since there's a couple more starts left.
Still,
84% of the guys he faced the second time, he faced them again the third time. Snell's is like 58 point something, so under 60%. And just for the sake of time, I won't go through Oviedo, but I do have those numbers pulled up, and his average, his percentage is 67%, which he usually struggles early, so he also doesn't get to the third time a whole lot. But either way, I think this goes to Keller in saying what you started saying earlier. He's asked to stay in the game.
Right.
So it's not only does he face them, he can face them, period. He's not walking as many guys as Blake Snell is walking. And if I make it through this episode without saying Ian Snell, I'm going to be blown away.
I do it every time. Every time.
So anyway, we just saw it this week in Keller's start where he gives up the grand slam. In my opinion, he's out of the game. And
He's
you
done.
even said
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have even made it through 5 innings in that case. So maybe you make a case for him to finish the inning so he's eligible for the win. We had a big lead. Even then, we throw him back out there for the 6th inning, and he gives up another run or
Right.
two. I'm a little foggy.
We had added the 3 runs on, so it made it a little more acceptable to send it back out there, but not a lot more.
It's just the idea that you go out there and what you ended up doing was creating 6 more plate appearances the third time through. This is just one start.
Right.
So you start to add those up, and we know that this has happened all year long.
Right.
He goes out there for the 5th and 6th innings, even though he's already given up 4 or 5 runs. If he just gives up one more run later, that third time through, those numbers are going to start showing up, where Blake Snell just doesn't go deep, so you don't have to worry about it. The point of this is to say that stats are really cool, and they can paint a lot of pictures.
Yes, they can. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? I mean, it's, you see it all the time. I mean, in some of in football particularly, my favorite stuff is, this team is number 1 against the run. Yeah, because they're 32nd against the pass, and people just throw the ball down the field. And they don't rush against them. It's not reflective of what's actually happening. But you can sit there and say we're the number 1 run defense, and no, they would have run on you too. It was just easier and more efficient to throw it 20 yards down the field at a clip because you don't tackle, et cetera.
Right.
And you see it in baseball. I mean, Jack Sawinski's a sort of a perfect example. You look at his overall numbers and you think he's an all-star, right? It's comparable to other all-star players. But you watch him game to game and you don't get that feeling, right? If you're like, his OPS is that close to Brian Reynolds? No way. It's not, and it's not like Brian Reynolds has had a great season. I mean, he's had a great 2 months, right? So it's, again, you're fantastic at it. It is one of the things I love about your show and your tweets and how well you break down these kind of stats that other people just aren't looking at them. I mean, you brought me back. I had just about given up on Brian Hayes, and you just kept selling me on exit velocity, and I'm like, I'm tired of hearing that he hits the ball hard because he just hits it at somebody. But man, you're looking like a genius now. So
it all comes back around, right? The average, and I'm not sure exactly what it is right now, but typically the average of batting average on balls in play sits around 300. That's just the average. I'm not sure exactly where it is, like I said, this season, but it's somewhere around there. And his was so low. And you know what? Lately, it's at like 329, something like that. So that's the thing. That's why it averages out. And if the law of averages says he's going to start hitting. I don't think I called for what he's doing right now, though.
Oh no.
I just thought it would average out. He's really on fire.
Right. We would have accepted the numbers that he has now if you would have told us, on March 31st, that, hey, Brian Hayes is going to have 14 home runs. He's going to have 30 doubles. And he's going to hit over 275. We have all said, yes, I'll where can I sign? I'll take this.
Yeah.
And the fact that he now looks like a guy that could be a 20-plus home run guy. Now, I don't know that he will, but it's there. It's there. It's in there. And if he could do this over an entire season, you're not just looking at
which you're not because because like I said, he's so far over that average that it will also come down. And so and that's fine though. But I think that's why it's an average. And maybe speak the same for Jack Sawinski. It'd be one thing if he struggled mightily for long periods of time and then he was his consistent hitter for the rest of it. Instead, he gets so hot, white hot, and so like those things average out. And I don't know. There's a story to tell for everybody. And I don't say that just to poo-poo on Blake Snell either. Like, he's pitching great. I mean, he really is. Maybe you could say that he's just being managed better.
Right.
So maybe if we were just managing Mitch Keller better, his numbers would be better. We're tacking on runs that we don't have to tack on. And quite frankly, maybe there's a part of it to that. Now, granted, the Padres team ERA is sitting somewhere around, I don't know, 340, 380. Ours is around 420. So they can rely a little more on their bullpen. Not to mention, they probably got Joe Musgrove going tomorrow or Yu Darvish. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it makes sense why Mitch Keller is asked to do that. Going forward, you hope that maybe he doesn't have to. Unless he's got his stuff, because he also has pitched a complete game shutout, which we're going to talk about Mitch Keller and 200 strikeouts. I know we're sitting here at 56 minutes or however long it is once I cut some stuff up at the beginning and end, but he got his 200th strikeout, and I can't believe I'm saying this, he's the third right-handed pitcher for the Pirates to do this.
Right. And the other two are Cole and Burnett.
Yes. You telling me Doug Drabeck in all those years that he pitched, well, 1 year he had like 239 innings pitched.
Yeah.
Did not strike out 200 guys.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we've had a lot, but Bob Veal, I think, was
Bob
our best.
Veal. It's 276. Right. He did it 4 times in the 60s. He had over 200 strikeouts.
Right. And then I mean, Candelaria was he's left-handed. I don't know how many.
Oliver Perez.
He was lefty. John Smiley was lefty. Perez,
Oliver Perez and Francisco Liriano were the other two that have reached that. So overall, 9 seasons, but 4 of those seasons were Veal, and so
he's 7 strikeouts away from passing Burnett's record of 209.
Yeah, and that's for a right-hander. Yep.
Yeah, and that's just right. That's just stunning to me because, like I said, I grew up watching guys get 300 strikeouts. Like I just would have assumed. And the Pirates have not had, our pitching glory has not been great, but we've had some really good pitchers. I mean, that have had really good seasons at different times. I'm stunned that Rick Rhoden or Rick Russell or Jerry Royce or some of these different guys that I watched pitch did not have one season, just one season of 200 at a time when they got 15 complete games in a year and that sort of thing. Don Robinson,
well, even Bob Veal that year, 250 strikeouts in 1964, which was the first time he did it. Was the league lead, but he also led the league in walks. So you know what I mean? And 14 complete games. But that is one thing that Liriano, Burnett had one complete game in his season when he did that. Liriano, Cole did not, and here he is with a complete game shutout in this same season. So there's some value there, but I don't. Obviously, he's not catching the likes of Veal and Perez with some of those numbers. They're astronomical.
Out of reach for today's baseball, right?
Right. So, is this a big deal? He has a 4.25 ERA, which is the highest on this list. Yeah. But we just said why. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I sort of look at it the same way I'm kind of looking at his win total, right? It's where it's not as impressive maybe as it even sounds sometimes. However, given the state of our pitching, given what we've kind of gone through in the past couple of years, to get somebody to just to pitch the whole season, stay healthy, shoulder the load that he has, and I mean, I've heard a couple of people say his goal this year was 200 innings and 200 strikeouts, and he's very close to accomplishing both. There's something to be said for that. It's. I mean, we're down to 2 starting pitchers, and he's one of them, right? I mean, you've got to. There's got to be some credit given for that. And again, it's just something to build on. It's something you're hoping like I said, next year, perhaps we don't ask him to do as much, so then he's a little fresher later in the season. He can be more efficient, and he's not going 3-2 on everybody, which drives me crazy. And so yeah, I mean, it definitely is worthy of some mention, and let's give him his flowers, right? Like you said, hasn't happened a lot.
And 200 innings hasn't either.
Right.
Garrett Cole, 15 and 17, had 200 innings, and Burnett in 12. Those are the last ones that have even gone 200 innings.
Yeah, and just this was a great little stat that I heard. It was last night or night before. What is that? The Pirates have played the Cubs more than 1,000 times at Wrigley Field. At Wrigley Field, right? I mean, the Pirates have been around for nearly 150 years, for crying out loud. And so you're putting a lot of people had an opportunity to get 200 strikeouts.
That's right.
There's been a lot of right-handed pitchers in the Pirates' history,
yeah,
and a lot of them pitched where they routinely went 9 innings, where they routinely threw.
I mean, Doug Drabick won a Cy Young.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, yeah, he was a phenomenal pitcher, and he did not get 200 strikeouts. That probably speaks to the Ray Miller, work fast, change speeds, and what was it? Throw strikes, change. I can't even remember it now. But yeah, I mean, you gotta, like I said, it's not like he's the 73rd guy to do it, right? He's the 4th, right? So good for him. It's basically especially where he came from. The expectations that we had for him, and then the struggles. So yeah, I salute him. Round of applause.
Yeah, anything that he does at this point, we've got to see it all too. The fact that so much of it has happened at the major league level, we've got to see it all, and that's been wild. And I think that we've all had all these conversations. So I think it's really cool whenever he does it. We'll wrap it up there. I will say one more thing, just to anybody who's still sticking around. I heard Blake Snell in that interview say one thing that I'm not sure I've ever heard. I don't think I've ever heard it. And I haven't processed it. I haven't looked this up. I haven't even thought it through, but it blew my mind. And he said, they said something like, "You're not backing down." And he said, "No, even the 3rd time through, I'm not backing down. I will still throw a pitch off the plate to try to get that swing, even when in a 3-2 count." And his walk rate, I said, was going up.
Going up, right.
And then he said this. He said, "There are good walks." And I said, "Wait, what?" Now, there was more to the sentence, but I didn't hear it because I heard the man say, "There are good walks." And I'd never heard that.
No, I haven't, but it's true, right?
And I don't think we're not even saying first base is open. I'm not throwing a pitch to Bellinger.
Oh, no.
This guy's saying nobody on base. I don't care if I walk this guy. I'll go get the next one. I'm not giving in.
If you're confident enough in your ability and the way that balls and strikes are called now, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a really good chance of getting a strike call on something 6 inches off the plate now. So why give a really good hitter that shot where you can put him on and then get the next guy? I mean, I mean, you're right. I've never heard someone say it like that, but
as soon as he did, he blew your mind because you just said, "I agree with him." And
Oh no, it is. But he's right. I mean, he's right. And again,
Unbelievable.
you immediately think, kind of how we pitched Bellinger tonight, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's somebody at second, first base is open,
Yep.
and Dansby Swanson, who had not been hitting well until a little later in the game.
Yep.
And it was effective. It worked. They got him each time. So. I'm like, yeah, that was a smart walk. The first time they walked him, it made me. He was 3-0, and then he threw a strike. I'm like, why are you wasting the pitch?
Yeah, once you're behind,
yeah. It's like, why? We need you to save every pitch. So.
Really interesting.
Yeah, and right. Like I said, it's interesting to think a guy that had 5 walks tonight may have had a good walk in there somewhere.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
So the Cubs are still in that third wild card spot, tied with Miami. Guess what? We play Miami this year still. We also play Cincinnati, and Philadelphia's in the first wild card spot.
Right.
So we've got it all coming up. If the Pirates finish this season from August 1st to the end of, or till October 1st, October 1st. Yeah. If we finish over 500 in that run, and we did it, we're only one game over right now, I think. Is that?
Yeah. I think you said 24 and 23, something like that.
I think so, yes. Or maybe 20. I think that's what it was, but now that we won, maybe it's 25, 23. So, I mean, if they can finish this run and be over 500 in the last 2 months plus a day of the season, I mean, you do have something. You have a little bit of hope going in next year.
Yeah. It's and it's come from, for the most part, I mean, again, Palacios is, but for the most part, right? It's been Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes.
Yeah.
It's been Peguero. It's been an effective bullpen. It's been Majinski and Barucki and you know what I'm saying? It's not,
and even Keller, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Keller, right? Keller. I mean, and Oviedo as well.
Mm-hmm.
And other guys, like I said, I'm expecting Andre Jackson and Falter more than likely. I'm hoping they're not, mainstays in the rotation next year, but I'm expecting them to be pitching, probably be in the not in the rotation. I'm sorry, but
rotation
on the in the bullpen, and but I mean, if Andre Jackson comes up, the Pirates are going to use openers again next year. They've had too much success this year to not see that happening again. And I think I heard Charrington say, playoff teams are doing this. This is so it's coming. But. Right. I mean, you're getting contributions
that fires
from guys
Jake up.
Yeah. You're getting contributions from guys that you think will be on the team next year, right?
Yeah.
This isn't Yoshi Tsutsugo having a hot. I mean, not that he wasn't on the team, but it's like this isn't Anthony Alford having a hot September, right?
Yep.
It's not Cole Tucker having one phenomenal game where he hits a grand slam, makes 2 great catches, and gets himself back on the 40, keeps himself on the 40 man. These are right. I mean, the best development for this team this year has been for Brian Hayes, right? I mean, that right, and we obviously O'Neal Cruz will be back, and I think Andy and Henry. I mean, right? You can't look at this as anything but a positive.
Yeah,
it does not. Much like Charrington said, everybody has to go do their job in the offseason.
That's it.
Players got to work harder and get better. And he's got to do right. He's got to bring in guys that add value and have some impact. And if you do that, there's no reason to believe that this team can't take a nice size step forward.
That's right. Well, I'll be at the game Saturday night in Cincinnati, so hopefully I can get them a win there. Doug, do you want people to find you somewhere, or do you not want them to? I know.
What am I? Douglas 128.
It's some
12,
numbers.
8, 21, I think. Right. 12 for Terry Bradshaw, 8 for Willie Stargell, 21 for Roberto.
Look at that.
So it's there's some significance there. I'm on the North Shore 9 post-game show Sunday. Would love to have you come join us along. I'm just grateful that you asked me to be on. I love you guys' show. You do such a great job. I'm looking forward to listening to you all off season. You guys bring such great perspective. And it was fun. Thanks. And anytime anytime you need a pinch hitter for Jake, I'm happy to do it.
I love it. This has been a long time. We talked a long time ago about this.
Yeah.
Trying to set this up. So yeah, I'm definitely glad that you were able to come on tonight.
I switched my schedule on Sundays, so I don't work Sundays, so I could be available just in case you guys need me.
Jake did that for a while, and then I guess that's gone away now. Now sometimes he works late, so definitely keep that in mind. Definitely. All right, that's all we have for today. Let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!